Donkey teeth.
Alright.
Alright.
Welcome to Dimitri's Horror Corner again.
I'm back.
Yeah. Again, I have friends who aren't Tracy. This is my home. There's a really cool painting up there of Moses parting the Red Sea so his team can win.
He has friends who aren't Tracy, but he only has one sister.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Allison will probably be in the next couple of Horror Corners, just because I don't have anyone else here, really. Lizzie is an hour away and can't come that often. And I don't have any other friends who live near me. So we just watched Los Innocentos?
Whatever the Innocence is in Spanish.
Or what was it called in English?
In English, on Netflix, it's down as Bloody April Fools.
Which was really confusing because in the description it says that it takes place on December 28th, Fool's Day. So we actually had to look up that it was...
Basically, the movie seems to take place in Spain, and in Spain and, like, Latin American countries. So
Spain
we'll
or
say
Mexico. A Spanish-speaking country.
Like, it's a Catholic thing. December 28th is, like, the Feast of the Innocents or something like that, and that's basically their Fool's Day.
Yeah, people pull pranks and stuff, so... it actually wasn't that bad. It's all in Spanish, so you need to watch with subtitles. We started off making fun of it, but the ending turned out really cool, actually.
It's one of those movies where the ending definitely changes the entire film.
It's, again, the last, 10 minutes made or break the movie for me.
Yeah.
It starts out pretty stereotypical. Some kids play a prank on this kid that ends in the kid's death.
They lock him in the boiler room, and what happens when you lock a kid in the boiler room? He basically cooks alive.
Yeah. And then...
It cuts to 15 years later, I think.
Something like that. And
15 years later, exactly, so on the same date.
Yeah, and these other kids are going into... They're going on a trip. They're being dumb kids, and they're just going on a trip together.
They're basically, dumb trips on, a road... Dumb kids on a road trip.
None of them are extremely malevolent. There's one kid who keeps pulling pranks on everyone, but he's just being stupid. They all seem like pretty good friends. None of them are, out to get each other.
Yeah, Chino pulls a bunch of dumb pranks, but, if you're a bunch of, they can't be, they're probably our age,
maybe a little younger.
Late teens, early 20s, they're just a bunch of dumb kids doing dumb stuff.
It was nice to see, though, that they weren't, none of them were malevolent to each other. It was, they were friends, and it was nice to see that they were dumb friends instead of the usual trope of they all hate each other.
Yeah, this is a horror movie where none of the people who die actually deserve to die.
Right. They were all, so they're a bunch of kids on a trip together, and they end up in this little town, and there's only one hostel there because it's getting late and they want to stop for the night and have sex. Half of this movie is set up as two of them just really want to bang this other chick, and these couple of other chicks. Yeah.
They're dumb teenage stuff.
And somebody warns them on the way that the hostel is cursed, you don't want to stay there.
It's haunted.
And they're like, that sounds awesome, because they're dumb kids.
Yeah.
So they go there.
One of the girls splits off, she hears that there's a bus stop, but she doesn't want anything to do with the hostel, so she leaves.
She believes, and she leaves, and she ends up dying.
She's the first to die, if I'm not mistaken.
And it was really weird.
It was a weird... She, her bag is stolen, and, she goes, and, there's, this recording of, laughter.
Yeah.
And,
the laughter of the kids who locked
the
other kid into the boiler room in the beginning. And then a snake comes out and bites her, and she tries to suck out the poison when you're not supposed to do that.
That's typical movie stuff.
Yeah. And then she's paralyzed, basically, by the poison.
And then the bus hits her, and she, basically explodes.
Yeah, the bus, it looks like the bus was going, 100 miles an hour when it hits her, because it's usually, this sucks to say, usually if somebody gets hit by a car or a bus, there's no external bleeding. Typically, it's you hit them and there's a lot of internal injuries, and that's what kills you. Because if your ribs go in and puncture your lungs, you die.
To use an analogy, you know how on, with roadkill, you'll see roadkill on the side of the road that, it's been perfectly intact, and it just looks like the animal is sleeping.
Squashed.
And then there's roadkill that's just, basically just, a red stain. It's, completely demolished.
But even,
she's the completely demolished one.
Even sometimes usually just looks squished, but there's no, external blood.
Yeah. A lot of times things aren't even crushed. They're just, it looks like the animal's just sleeping.
She looked like she exploded in front of this bus. Right before the bus would have hit her, an internal eruption happened.
So the bus was going Mach 5.
Yeah.
Maybe it was on the Autobahn.
Which...
Maybe this actually takes place in Germany.
I appreciate that they didn't actually show us the bus running her over, and they wanted to show that she had died, so fine. Mm-hmm. But that was an odd choice. The deaths all happened pretty slowly. Actually, we talked about that. We kept checking the time when people kept dying, and like, wow, there's still half the movie left, and there's still half the people alive. Like, typically in these movies, once people start dying, they die rapid fire after that. But this one actually took its time with that,
Mhm.
and I think we kept checking the time because it was odd, but I think it worked out better for how the movie goes.
Yeah. So she dies first, then
We kept waiting for Chino to die because he was the
Chino,
prankster, so we knew he was gonna
Chino
die.
dies fourth, I believe.
Yeah, the couple who went into the bathroom to have sex.
One gets a nail driven through his head,
Right.
and then the other girl like slips and falls and like cracks her head open. But
And then
she's,
the
like, dragged
weirdest
out.
thing happens. I don't know how to explain that. Maybe she drugged her as well, or it was just because the brain injury made her act weird.
Maybe
I think it was. So one of them trips and falls and
like really hits her head.
cracks her head open. Like literally, her head is cracked open. Like you can see brain. And she gets dragged off. And then later, somebody else finds her. Chino finds her, and she's scratching her head where the injury is.
And like she basically claws her own brain out.
Yeah, I had to look away at that part because I
Yeah.
could not stand that. But she like picks open the wound and she scratches at her brain until she dies. And we'll get into the ending in a second and why that's now confusing me. We assumed this whole time it was a curse because of the ghost. The ghost of either
No.
the
At this
kid.
time, we're working on the theory that at this time, because we need to go in order. At this time, we're working on the theory that this is the ghost of the kid who was killed.
Right.
In a typical horror movie, kid is killed and is vengeful, so haunts the place and like just kills anyone who goes there.
Right.
Which we were wondering why then, like the girl who didn't actually go to the hospital died, but apparently just knowing about the hospital was enough to curse you.
Right. Well, now it makes sense.
But
we'll get to that.
End yet.
Now it makes sense why she died, but we'll get to that.
So continue. So Chino runs off, like grabs the van and tries to drive off because he just saw one of his friends tear her own brain out, pretty much.
Yeah, like all of the actions. A couple of times people try to leave the rest of the friends behind, but they're all like believable actions. Like
I don't think Chino was intentionally thinking I'm going to ditch everyone. I think he was probably just freaked out because like how else would you respond to seeing
right.
that?
And there's a part later on where they see another kid sees two other people die, and she also tries to run and leave people behind. And somebody calms her down, and she's like, "Well, wait, what about everyone else?" And they're like, "Oh yeah," and they go back and they get them. Like that's why I like that they're all friends. That it actually meant something that they were all together.
So Chino grabs the thing and tries to drive off, but like the car runs out of gas,
or no, it doesn't start because everything inside the car was replaced by bees.
Yeah, and he gets like killed by bees. Bees, my god.
It's funny. The scene is actually set up pretty. I think all the filming actually and the setup for the scene is actually pretty well. There's one scene where I laughed because of the way they cut it, but the bees we laughed because bees. My god.
Bees are inherently funny,
but it was actually a pretty scary setup. It was pretty good. The scene that I laughed at was the guy. He goes into a room and a bucket of water falls over him, but it's actually gasoline. And they see fire starts creeping towards him. And then they cut to another kid who asked for a light. And I'm like, all right, that was a pretty funny kid. That was a pretty funny cut there. And then that's another kid who burns to death.
Mm-hmm.
He just barely, he's like 2 feet away from the pool. And I'm like really disappointed that he couldn't walk 2 more feet to get into the pool.
But if it's been closed for a while, the pool may be empty.
No, they showed us there's water in it.
Oh.
Because when they showed us the fire, there was a reflection in the water.
I wonder how there's water in the pool now. With rain.
Yeah, it's weird. It's because they said the place has been closed down. I think, although even if he got in the pool, he probably would have died because he would have been in shock, so he probably would have drowned.
Alright, so he dies, and then at some point, like, the remaining 4 kids, I think.
They split off to have sex with their respective partners.
Yeah, and, like, they find, like, the bodies of the others. Like, they find,
Oh, there's the Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
They get to, okay, now we're starting to think it's not the kid who died, it was the 3 other kids. Because before every death, they play a recording of the laughter. And the little paper doll thing that they did to the other kid, is before every death. So they go into the woods. I forgot why. But they go into the woods and they find a box. And the laughter is coming from the box. And it's like a little Jack in the Box. And
it's Chino's head.
Chino's head pops out of the box.
So they freak out. One of the girls freaks out, runs, and gets her leg caught in a bear trap.
Yeah.
And they all, like, kind of manage to get her inside, and, like, they're all kind of hiding. And 2 of the kids go off to, like, try and find out what's what.
2 of them try to find, like, a way out or something. Because the car is messed up, obviously.
And while this is happening, someone, like, puts gas in the room with the 2 remaining kids, and they basically, like, get high off the gas, and they die from, like, suffocating that way.
They don't say what kind of gas it is, but hysteria is a common symptom of any gas overdose. And then they die. And then at that point, the other two come back, and they're like, we need to go. And the girl...
And they find the boiler room.
And they get locked in the boiler room.
And that's where they see, like, kind of the thing. And I think this was more where we really started wondering.
This is when they find the newspaper articles
that
about
says that he died, and then it turned out that a year later, the three boys who had locked them in there had died. And here's the point where we're wondering, okay, maybe his ghost killed them, but now it's their ghost playing the prank. Because it wouldn't really make sense for, like, the ghost of the boy kid to go around murdering people who are just, like, there. Right. Like, they're not doing anything bad.
Right, but if the other kids were assholes, they'd be assholes still.
Yeah. So the boiler room goes off,
They almost die in there.
They almost die, but they manage to get out. Like
they get the girl out, and the girl the way the kid almost got out with the window, he gets the girl out, and then the pipe explodes in its face, and he's like, "Just go without me," and she comes back with a rope. Which again, I like that they're friends and they didn't leave each other behind. Because a lot of horror tropes play off. Oh, these people hate each other. We're like, well, why would they help each other then? But
and then
yeah,
like,
and then they run into this guy,
a random passerby who.
Yeah, this was I think they could have cut this out and it would have been fine, but they wanted to kill off one of the other characters, I guess. So whatever. They could have just killed him in the boiler room, I think, but... So a car comes up and he's like, hey, what's going on? They're like, someone's trying to kill us, and the one guy is like... The guy and a girl, and the guy is like, don't get in with hitchhikers, don't trust this guy, and the girl was like, we don't have any other choice, we need to get out of here.
So they get in the car and they drive, and, like, they hit, like, basically a row of spikes in the road... So they need to change the tire.
So the guy goes to change the tire, and they see their friend's bag.
The bus stop girl's bag.
Yeah.
So they assume that he killed bus stop girl.
And they find a gun in it, and he takes the gun. The guy takes
aims
the gun.
at it, and, like, the guy who picked him up has a gun, too, so they kind of have the standoff, and he's just, like, put the gun down, and, like, the teenage boy's, like, finally, like, alright, I'll put the gun down, but he can't because it's glued to his hand.
Yeah, well, he was pointing at the kid once, and the kid was like, I'm not gonna put the gun down, so he pointed at the girl instead, and he's like, put it down, or I'll shoot her. And then he listens because he's a decent guy. But the gun is glued to his hand, and he tries to explain this, and the guy doesn't listen.
So he's forced to shoot the guy.
So that he doesn't shoot the girl.
But the guy turns out he's not fully dead, so, like, his last moment is, like, getting one shot off into the boy. So the boy dies, and, like, the girl, like, runs, like, back to the gas station where they learned about the hostel.
I was about to say she could have taken the car, but I just remembered the car had some tires.
So she runs to the gas station, like, she calls the police for help, and, like, the person who owns/works in the gas station, like...
Finds her. And is like, hey, calm down, I'll help you out.
And she brings her some tea. And here's the twist. She drinks the tea, and it has salt in it instead of sugar, and she's just like, haha, funny prank. But then, like, she keeps talking, and it's just like, pranks. And you find out that she was the mother of the boy who died in the boiler room, and she's been the one killing them this entire time.
And I actually really liked this. We assumed it was a ghost, but looking back at all the things that happened, none of it was something that a person couldn't do.
We even made a joke at one scene when, like, because they show you, like, the girl's, like, bus stop girl's bag get put in the thing, and, like, it shows, like, the door open and just, like, the bag get put in, and we're just like, so the ghost needs to open doors now, but that makes sense, because it wasn't a ghost.
Right. And now it also makes sense why the girl on the bus died, because she had met this woman already.
It had nothing to do with the hostel itself being cursed. It had to do with basically the mother of this boy losing her mind and killing anyone.
Right. It sounds like she kills people around that age group that her son died. So she's crazy and she goes after this one girl.
It's very Friday the 13th, this, with Jason's... Was it? Yeah, Jason's mother basically killing people at the camp, even if they're not necessarily connected to her son's death, just because she lost her mind.
Right. And it felt like a good twist. It was, I think it was really good. And then it gets better. The end. We really like how it ended, because we kept looking at the time, and it felt like there was too much time left. And then she gets back here, and it's good. So they explain the thing, and she tries to kill her, and the girl tries to stab her, and it doesn't work. So that would seem confusing. She gets out, and she gets into the scrapyard, and she's trying to basically kill this woman before the woman kills her.
And she, like, stabs her through the foot and manages to get away the woman's nail gun, and she's going to shoot her with a nail gun when the cop she called, who has shown up by this point, shoots the girl.
Right. Because at this point, the woman is on the ground, and she has a nail gun to her head. And we heard the gunshot and we immediately knew it was the cop before they even panned up, and we were like, wow, that's so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
and then, like, the girl falls over, and, like, as she's dying, like, the last thing she says is, "I'm innocent."
right.
And
Which makes more sense in the Spanish title than in the English title. But I think that was such a good ending because it was a good... A lot of horror movies, they have to kill everyone or one person survives. And this one was one that killed everyone in a way that made sense. Her dying because it looks like she's the villain in this scenario makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just really liked the way it ended. I thought... Now though, going back, now that we know it was her, why did the other person scratch her brain out? I guess it was just because she had a really bad injury?
I guess, like, depending on, like, how badly her brain was injured.
I guess maybe because I guess a brain injury would be the way to explain it. Or she was drugged, but...
She could be drugged, too.
Yeah. So we watched it as... We were like, let's look for a bad horror movie. And because the thing was, like, Bloody April Fools, but the date was different, we wanted to watch that. And it actually turned out pretty good.
It was.
So if you don't mind having to read the entire movie, because it is in Spanish, so you'd have to watch subtitles, unless you spoke Spanish, I'd recommend it.
I'd recommend it. It's definitely a movie where it starts going into it, like, you expect it just to be, like, a kind of a cheesy, like, horror movie. And it is up until the end, and the end kind of changes, like, how you see, like, the rest of the movie.
Even then, it doesn't go too far with the slasher movie tropes.
No.
All of it's very... Some gory scenes I could have done without, but...
You also don't like gore in general.
I also don't like gore in general. I think none of it was too much of anything. It felt long to us, we kept saying, but that's because we are so used to watching movies where once the deaths start, that's it. They're all dead in the next 10 minutes.
I don't think there were too many jump scares, either.
I don't think there were any jump scares.
There was one at the beginning with Chino and the mask, and...
Oh, and Chino's. And Chino's head.
Yeah.
And that's
Other than that, there aren't too many... Because I kept expecting jump scares, and there weren't really.
They do some funny stuff with the music. I think...
There was one scene, actually, where it was an interesting choice in terms of cinematography, but it also kind of worked, where...
Oh, the found footage scene?
They momentarily switched to, like, the scene where they find Chino's head is, like, filmed on someone's, like, iPhone. And, like, the entire scene is, like, being filmed on an iPhone, and when it ends, it's just kind of, like, the screen, like, pauses and just, like, goes down to where, like, videos are kept.
Yeah. And it was good, because I personally don't like found footage, because I'm tired of seeing it in horror movies. Which is something we disagree on.
I like that.
But I think it was good that it was only for a small part of the film, and it made sense that they started filming. A lot of problems with found footage films is they need to make up an excuse for them to be filming this entire thing.
Yeah.
They were only filming a small part, and it was because they were being dumb idiots and
I
stuff.
don't dislike found footage. We could probably make a video on this.
Yeah. We can talk about found footage another time when we watch a found footage film, but this one was pretty good.
Just basically, like, a brief overview. My point of view of found footage is, I don't hate it, I don't love it, I think it's, like, a tool like anything else, and it can be overused, but when it's used correctly, I think it's used really well.
Yeah. So this movie was pretty good. Yeah. I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
An 8 as well.
Yeah. Alright, leave comments. What movies you want us to watch. This one's on Netflix. I don't know if we mentioned that.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's Bloody April Fools.
Yep.
It's like not taking place in April.
Alright. Bye.
Bye.